Hello and welcome to Pixel Magic Tutorials. I am your host Geekman, and today we're going to learn how to create a minimalist holiday-styled wallpaper in Photoshop. Now, a couple of assumptions I need to get out of the way right off the bat. Number one, I am using Photoshop CC 2018. So if you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, some of the effects may not work as expected. Second, I'm using Windows. So if you're using a Mac, when I say hit the Control key, that's the Command key. And when I say hit the Alt key, that's the Option key. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started by hitting Control N on the keyboard to bring up the new image dialog box. Let's name this Holiday Wallpaper, because that's what we're making. Our width is going to be 3,840 pixels, height of 2,160 pixels, 150 pixels per inch resolution, RGB color 8-bit, and the background contents, we're going to click on this little color icon here and change the color to this nice blue, which is 96C9E2. Okay, that's the color that we want. Let's move that up there so you can see it a little bit better maybe. Hit OK. Then we're going to make sure that our color profile is sRGB and our pixel aspect ratio is square pixels. Hit create, and we now have a nice blue image to begin with. Now this blue is going to be the sky for our image, so now what we need is the ground. And the way that we're going to do the ground is we're first going to change our foreground color to a nice icy blue. So let's click on our foreground color there, and then let's put in the icy blue that we want, which is going to be EC F7, what do we say here, FC. So like this nice icy blue right there. Hit OK, and we now have a nice icy blue. It looks almost white, but it's icy blue. Then we're going to go to our rectangle marquee tool right here on the toolbar, or you could have hit M on the toolbar and it would have given you the same tool. Okay, then you want to go down about 2/3 of the way down, or 1/3 from the bottom-ish, somewhere around there, and you just want to draw a nice big rectangle that takes over the whole image like so. Then what we want to do is create a brand new layer. So there we have a brand new layer, and we want to fill this selection on our new layer with our new color. So hit Alt and Backspace. I have to hit it twice because there's still a bug in Photoshop CC 2018 where if you hold down the Alt key, you've got to hit the next key twice in order for the keyboard shortcut to work. So that's why you heard me hit it twice. But now we have this nicely filled. So you can hit Control D to deselect, and we now have ground and sky. Okay, let me go back to my move tool so you can see my arrow a little bit better. And there we have our background basically done. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change our foreground and background colors back to their default by hitting D on the keyboard. You can see we have black in the foreground, white in the background now. And what we're going to do is switch our foreground and background, hitting X on the keyboard, which switches the foreground and background, or you can hit the little switch icon right here. And now white is our foreground. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our ellipse tool, which is the U on the keyboard, which is down here. And you just want to go down to the ellipse tool. Now you can get there by hitting Shift and U a few times until you see the ellipse tool like so, or you can just click, drag, and roll over to the ellipse tool on the flyout menu. Okay, now that we have our ellipse, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create 3 ellipses or circles that we're going to turn into a snowman. Now this is pretty simple and straightforward, so we're going to hold down Shift on the keyboard as we draw our circle, and that will constrain it to an actual circle. So we're going to go like so, and we now have a nice white circle. You can make this any size, it doesn't matter, because this, the reason why that we're using this ellipse tool here is because this makes basically a vector object. So this object is now vector, so we can resize it bigger and smaller and it won't lose any of its definition, kind of like how Illustrator works. So now we're going to go back to our move tool, which is V on the keyboard. We have this perfect circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold down Alt on the keyboard, and our mouse will change into 2 double arrow there, and then we can click and drag, and we will make a duplicate of our circle. And by holding Alt, that makes a duplicate, and if you hold Shift, it will constrain that duplicate to a straight line up and down, or left and right if you were to move it left and right first. So we're going to move it up a little bit, and then what we're going to do is hit Control T, and we're going to resize it to make it slightly smaller. That will make the body. Okay, we've got the base, we've got the body. We're going to hit Enter, then we're going to hold down Alt again, and then Shift again, and we're going to make the head like so. And we're going to go Control T, and we are going to make the head smaller, like so. And look at that, we now have a snowman. Pretty simple, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to swap our foreground and background colors by hitting X on the keyboard. You can see that our foreground and background have changed. Then we're going to go and hit Shift and U to get back to our ellipse tool. And we're going to hit Shift and U a few more times until we see the rectangle ellipse tool here. The rectangle tool. And that's what we're going to use now to create a hat. Okay, now before we do that, what we want to do is we want to make a brand new layer here, okay? And we want to make sure that on our brand new layer, we will draw a small rectangle like so. Okay, now you can see that this is white. It should be black, but even though it's white, you can just hit Alt and Backspace twice for me, and that will turn it black. That will fill it, or in the Flyout Properties menu, you can just click here and choose black from your color picker. Okay, so now we have that, and what we're going to do is create a brand new layer, and we're going to do another rectangle like so. Okay, and we're going to fill that with black also. Then we're going to hit Control T on our keyboard because we want to change this guy to be a little bit wider at the top than he is at the bottom. So we're going to grab this and we're going to hold down Control and Shift and Alt, and that will make the top transform where the bottom stays the same. So we're going to just make this like so. And now this looks like a top hat. So you can hit Enter on the keyboard. Yes, we definitely want to do that. And then we can go back to our Move tool, V on the keyboard. And we now have our top hat. So now we're going to take these two layers here. We're going to select them both in our layer palette. And then we're going to Control T. Could not transform. That doesn't make sense. Control T. There we go. And we're going to put this on his head, and we're going to make it small enough so that it looks like it's an actual top hat. So we can make this smaller like so. And there. Then we're going to just move it so that it's centered over his head. Hit Enter, and we now have our top hat. Okay, the top hat seems to have a little bit of space there, so we're going to select this top part here, rectangle number 2, and just move it down 1 or 2 notches, and we now have it set properly. So now what we want to do is zoom in, and we're going to make 2 eyeballs. So let's go back to our rectangle marquee tool. Not marquee, just our rectangle tool. Sorry about that. And we're going to go over here and we're just going to make a little square. So holding down Shift constrains it to a square, and we're going to make a little square like so. We're going to fill that with black, and we're going to now move that to make an eyeball. And then we're going to hold down Alt and Shift, and we're going to make a duplicate and put it over here. And there is our second eyeball. Now what we want to do is we want to create a nose. Okay, and we're going to change our foreground color here to FF, let's see, 9900. Okay, a nice bright orange. Okay, that's going to be our carrot nose. And we're going to go over here to our ellipse tool, and that's going to make our nose. So we're going to make another new layer, and we're going to make our nose by holding down Shift to constrain it to a circle, and then we're going to fill it with orange, like so. And we now have our snowman. And if you zoom out, you can see he's a snowman. So now what we want to do is we want to select all of our snowman layers, which begins down here with ellipse number 1 and goes all the way up here to ellipse number 2. And we want to group it, so hold down Control and then G to make a group, and we want to name this as snowman, like so. And here is our snowman, and we are going to move our snowman around. Now, when you're in your Move tool, which is V on the keyboard or right here on your toolbar, you want to make sure that Auto Select is unselected, because if you have Auto Select selected like so, you'll only move the piece that you touch, okay, which is not what we want. So you want to unselect that, and then it doesn't matter as long as you have the snowman group selected here in your layer palette. Then when you click and drag, it will move the whole group as one. Okay, and then what we want to do as a group, as the snowman group, we want to Control T so that we can transform it and make the whole group smaller, like so. And we're going to put him right here. And here we have our snowman sitting on the ground with the nice icy ground and the nice cold blue sky. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a tree next to our snowman. So above our snowman group, we're going to put a new layer. Okay, and we're going to change our foreground color to a new color. And that new color is going to be, let's see here, a nice green, 00A226. Okay, this nice green color. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back to our tool here, which is our vector tool, and we're going to go down here to the custom shape tool. Okay, once you go to the custom shape tool, I want you to go all the way over here to where it says shape and click on the little arrow. Now, if you don't see these particular shapes in the custom shape tool, you go to the sprocket here and go down until you see shapes. Click on that, hit replace, and then you will see all of these shapes. And the one that we are most interested in is this triangle. Okay, so now that we've got our triangle selected and you can see that our fill is green, we're going to draw a triangle, but it needs to be an isosceles triangle, which means that all the sides are equal. So you want to hold down Shift when you make your first triangle, like so. Okay, there's our triangle. Awesome. So now what we want to do is go back to our Move tool, which is V on the keyboard, and we want to grab this with Alt and Shift, and we're going to put him up a little bit, and then we're going to Control T that to transform it, and we're going to make it slightly smaller, like so. And there we have the beginnings of a tree. Okay, and you can arrange it however you'd like. This looks pretty good. And then what we're going to do is grab another one. So we're going to hold down Alt again and Shift again, and we're going to drag this up again, like so. And then we're going to make it smaller. So Control T, and we're going to hold down Alt and Shift so that it stays centered. And we're going to go like so. And we now have a tree. All right, what the tree needs now is a base to stand on, a trunk, so to speak. So we're going to change our foreground color again. Okay, and we're going to change that to a nice brown color, which is going to be, let's see, 513,700. Like so. Okay, a nice brown color. And then we're going to go back to our shape tool here, and we're going to make it a rectangle tool. And for this, we want to put it underneath our bottom shape here, but let's draw it first. Let's make a new layer and put it down underneath the shape 1. So we have layer 2 here under shape 1. And then we're going to draw a trunk like so. Okay, and then we're going to fill it with our foreground color with Alt and Backspace. Then we're going to go back to our Move tool, which is V on the keyboard, and make sure that it is centered. And we're going to select all of these. These need to be centered, so we're going to go with our Move tool selected and all of these layers selected. And you can select them all by clicking on the top one and then holding Shift and clicking on the bottom one. And then you just go up here and you click on this, and that will center everything. That is center vertically. And now we have a nice tree. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we want to put all of these into a group that is called tree. So now that they're all selected, hit Control and G, and then you can double click on the name here and name it tree. And we now have our tree, and we have our Move tool. So we're going to put our tree next to our snowman like so. And then we're going to make it smaller by hitting Control T on the keyboard and bringing it down until the tree bottom of the first branches, I guess, are about equal with the neck of our snowman. Okay, and then we're going to put it next to our snowman like so. We can make it slightly taller like that and hit Enter. And there we have our tree and our snowman, and we have a winter scene. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put text way down over here on the right hand side that says Happy Holidays. You can make it say whatever you want, or you don't have to put it in at all. I like to put it in because it makes me happy. So we're going to make a new layer here, and we're going to change our foreground color to the text color that we want. Now I'm using a nice blue for this, which is going to be a 5093B4. Okay, this nice blue. Hit OK, and then I'm going to go to my text tool, which is T on the keyboard, or the text tool right here. And the font that I'm using, you can find a link to in the description below. It's a free font. You can download it and use it as you see fit. Okay, and it's called Carolina Mountains. Okay, and the text size that we want to use is just 60 points. Okay, and everything else you just want to leave basic at 0 for the kerning and 100 and 100 here. And you don't want it to be bold or italicized or anything, or all caps, because this is going to be a scripty font to invoke the holiday spirit. Okay, then you want to click anywhere and you want to write in Happy Holidays, like so. Once that's done, you want to click on the little check mark there, then go back to your move tool like so, and then you just want to place this where you think it should be, and I think it should be right about there. And that looks great to me. So there you have it. That is a minimalistic holiday type wallpaper in Photoshop. And I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe. I do new tutorials every Tuesday. And once again, this is Geekman signing off for Pixel Magic Tutorials.